Well, hello everyone. I am Matt Williamson. How is everyone doing? I am great. We got some news here we're going to get to. I am recording this the evening of June 5th, so you can be in your earbuds June 6th, which happens to be my birthday. Happy birthday to me, 6-6. I'll be 51. Woohoo. It's also Kenny Pickett's birthday. Yeah, maybe you're not as thrilled to give him a big shout out. It's also D-Day, more importantly. And it's also the Antichrist birthday. Yeah, Damien and, the Omen and all the Antichrist stuff. 6-6, born at 6 o'clock. I was petrified for years to ask my mom what time I was born. But, hey, maybe I did make a deal with the devil to be able to do this for a living. But there you have it. Anyways, nobody cares about that. More importantly, a move that we've talked about a fair amount that I love is the Steelers are bringing back Cam Sutton. Now, let's get this out of the way. The past year did not go well in Detroit on and off the field, especially off recently. It's a hard thing for me to comment on, and I'm not brushing it away. I'm not telling you that doesn't matter. But what we do know is the Steelers met with him. They obviously had a pre-existing relationship with him. The charges got reduced to a misdemeanor. That doesn't mean the NFL couldn't suspend him a game or two. I'd be shocked if it's more than that. But what I can tell you, and I'm not excusing his actions, of course, is he was strongly considered a high character player, leader, captain type when he was here, as well as when he came out of Tennessee. I think he was a team captain there. I mean, he's a do-it-all type player. And that's what I want to get to is what is he as a player? Now, I think when he left for Detroit, the Steelers were very interested in keeping him, that they liked Sutton a lot. Now, what happened in Detroit, there were issues. I mean, I'm talking about on the field. He didn't have a great year. It wasn't a horrendous year, but he didn't have a great year. And you have to start worrying when cornerbacks, more so than most positions, start to get up in age and compile some seasons. They can fall off quick. So maybe that's what happened. But this is a league minimum deal the Steelers paying him today too. So this is a zero investment. I mean, again, you could cut him in camp. But back to what he did in Detroit. Their pass rush wasn't great. Their secondary was awful. Their cornerback play was terrible. And you can see it by their offseason. They went out and drafted corners super high, 2 of them really, really high. And they made a trade for one. So they brought in 3 legit corners to fix that room. Now, we had a good discussion earlier about, or in the week about Porter and what he's asked to do and following number ones. And trust me, it wasn't to that, degree at all in Detroit. But Sutton was cast as a cornerback 1 in Detroit, which when he left the Steelers, I don't think me or anybody would say, oh, that's an NFL cornerback 1. He's a good player. He's a cog in the wheel, even on his best day. But to ask him to be the 1 and often go against Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm just saying about, good receivers, and that's a bad example. Obviously, he's not going to guard the Lions, but top receivers from other teams. And he didn't follow them like Revis or Porter, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, here and there. He was not a shadow corner, but he was cast as a number 1 outside corner. Well, that's miscasting. And that's what they paid him to do. He didn't live up to that. The Steelers are paying him much less to do different things. I think as it stands today, June 6th, that he would project as the 3rd outside guy. And he could do that well, particularly in zone and off. And I don't think you want him pressing Jamar Chase, 30 snaps a game and playing man coverage because he's going to lose. But I think he's a massive upgrade and flat out fills your slot corner predicament because we've been talking about this for a while. I mean, a lot of names people haven't heard of, they're going to patch in there at slot and, kind of cut a corner at slot corner. But now I think you have a good, above average, quite good / slot corner that was very effective doing that here. And it's probably his best role now. He's tough. He can play near the line of scrimmage. He can do a little bit of safety stuff for you too in a pinch, with design, disguised coverages. He can drop in the top, deep two deep shell type of things. He's smart. He's versatile. So that's key. And frankly, I just think it works out better that the three young guys, the two you drafted the past 2 years and Rush, you don't have to rush them. I didn't mean to do that, but how about it? So I think it just gives you a lot of stability. And what I said when I saw this signing was I firmly believe for all those reasons, depth, security, starting slot, that it just completes your secondary. I think the Steelers' secondary is complete. Could they add another safety? Eric Rowe comes to mind. I know all of you guys want Justin Simmons. I mean, at the right price, I would add anything in the defensive backfield, but I think you're very, very comfortable with your defensive backfield top to bottom now. It's a good group of stars, role players, youth with upside, and not a ton invested there. So on the field and all that, I couldn't approve of this more. I think it's a great addition. And apparently they know him. I don't know him at all. They know him 1,000 times better than me. They have no qualms whatsoever about the person, apparently. And the contract reflects that. BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. We're going to wrap this thing up pretty soon, but it leads me to the next question, and that's what's next? I mean, are they done with major to moderate roster moves? I don't think so. I really don't. I think a outside linebacker, an edge, will be added, and I keep coming back to Golden. That seemed like a successful story to me, unless there's some reason he doesn't want to come back. I do think one tiny sticking point is he's not a special teamer, and I'm curious if Sutton will be on special teams. I mean, don't know the answer to that, but I think he's capable. So that's important, but Golden was really, really good, and that would basically like complete your defense to me. I mean, I think there's like one roster spot available on defense now, and that's one more edge rusher, and Golden will be fine. There's other ones out there. No rush on that. I think that we've talked this to death. Extensions are on the horizon, probably starting with Hayward, Freiermuth. There's some other options as well. They have a ton of cap space, and extensions could even open more. And it also rolls over to next year. You're just putting money in the bank. So you don't have to use it all. You'll be real happy whenever we start doing off-season conversations and be like, the Steelers have the 5th most cap space in the league. Well, it could happen. And then, of course, wide receivers. I still think they're kicking tires left and right, making calls left and right for a starting type receiver. And I don't think Sutton from Denver is off the table. I mean, he's going to cost you a little something, mid-round pick and another $15 million extension, something like that. But he'd be very useful. I mean, if you could add Sutton and Sutton in the next, coming days, weeks, months, whatever, I think that makes you a much better football team. The Niners situation is interesting because they gave Juwan Jennings a contract, and Ayuk is still out there with all this Jefferson, Waddle, A.J. Brown money getting thrown around. Ayuk is next, St. Brown. Do they plan on giving it to him? I bet they do. And they also drafted Pearsall in the first round. They extended McCaffrey today. And there's some talk that McCaffrey's later years with the Niners could be the Debo role. He's such a good receiver that we don't want him taking 20 carries a game, that McCaffrey could be Debo as a receiver plus, some carries, obviously. But the Niners could move somebody. I don't think they will, because I think they're trying to win the Super Bowl this year, and Debo will make that much easier. But they could get away without Debo Samuel. I think if you were to prize someone from San Francisco, it's Debo. I think Ayuk gets extended and is a franchise type player. The other guys are getting contracts, so the writing's on the wall there. And then one that's not super exciting is Robert Woods. If you look at the Texans depth chart now, after getting Diggs, signing Collins, Tank Dell, drafted some guys too. They have some other young dudes. Mechie's still there from Alabama. Robert Woods, you could get, I bet, for a 7th round pick, maybe a 6th. Pay his contract. Maybe even they'd pick up a little of his contract, which isn't exorbitant. I would hope you could do better, but I think he would be your 2 today. He's a quality, do-it-all, outside, inside, tough guy, been around the block, has lost a step, was never a special player, but had some really good years with the Rams and has bounced around a little. I think he's an upgrade over Austin and Wilson and the other dudes. Again, you could get him cheap, but I think you could probably make that move a month from now too, or he might even get cut. So, I mean, that would be fine. It would be an upgrade and it wouldn't cost you hardly anything, but I'd prefer to still hold out for a difference maker. And the last team I want to throw out there, which I think there's basically close to no chance of prying one of their dudes away, is Green Bay has drafted so well and their receiver room is so young and so cheap. I don't know why they'd move any of their guys, but they have 4 or 5 high-quality first contract players of different shapes and sizes that they just can't get them all on the field together. I mean, that's their issue, is they're too good, too young, too widespread in terms of skill sets that Green Bay just can't get their guys on the field. But I'm not giving you Christian Watson like you would Woods, or, I mean, the whole group. I mean, anyone but Romeo Doubs would really, really interest me. But if I'm them, I have no interest in moving really good, cheap young players. So I just want to throw those out there. I'm sure there's others I know there's others have been discussed that I didn't bring up, but those are the ones that come to mind. But I do think another move probably will happen at receiver. And I'm hoping it's bigger than like a Woods move, but that would be logical as well. Maybe it's Woods and another. I don't know. That seems tough considering all the guys who signed. But I do like the Sutton move, and that's pretty much the gist of things. Over and out.